So, how you doing?
This is intimidating because I'm afraid you're going to tell me how I'm eating it wrong and she's going to tell me how I'm cooking it wrong.
I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you, say, do you do Memphis rub on the ribs?
No. We do, it's not really a secret. It's got some turbinado sugar, has some paprika, some onion powder, some garlic powder, some brown sugar, maybe a little bit of salt. Yeah, so it's
and
nothing.
do you
really.
pray that it'll come out?
I do
right?
pray. Yeah, we do. Yeah. And they turn out pretty good most of the time.
I had some great barbecue when I was down there. Oh, tell Mimi about the, what do you call the corn cake with the pulled pork and the coleslaw on it?
We just call them fried cornbread. It's more or less, so it's buttermilk, cornmeal, and eggs, and then you put a lot of bacon grease on the, or lard, but bacon grease is better. You know, kind of lather that on the flat grill, and then fry them like a pancake, right? But in the South, folks used to call them hoe cakes because they would, you know, heat up physically the hoe that you would, you know, use in the ground, and they would clean it off a little bit, maybe heat it up in the fire, and cook the cornbread on the metal part of the hoe. So hoe cake.
Do you do pork ribs, beef ribs, or
pork, baby backs most of the time.
baby back?
Yeah.
Yeah. The best ones I've ever had were, there was a place in D.C. that used to do Memphis rub, which was a dry, which I liked very. I've never seen it anyplace else. But
We do both dry and wet.
Yeah.
So either way, yeah.
And they also have great desserts there, Mimi. His mom, who they call Uma, she made me a coconut chess pie.
Wow.
And a carrot cake that would just knock your socks off.
That must have been great.
It was so
Maybe
good.
you ought to open up a place here. New York is going barbecue crazy.
Well, yeah. When my son and I showed up, I'm like, I want you to take me to have the best slice of pizza wherever that's at, and then some good barbecue. And he's like, I'm not going to waste your time on barbecue. You just need to go for pizza because there's no good barbecue in New York City. I don't know.
That's what I said to Devin. Yeah, that's what I said.
It's a very strange thing, but barbecue is not a New York taste, no matter how many open up. Barbecue, to me, I mean, I've had it in Kansas City, I've had it all over Texas, I've had it in North Carolina, but there's a certain atmosphere around it that helps the appreciation, the kind of town, the kind of way people talk, the air. I mean, here you go into a restaurant, which is very different from, you know, the
barbecue
Texas,
joint.
Austin, all of that. So right now it's hot. It's been hot before and disappeared. It comes and goes. So.
Before we get to Devin's, the things you wanted to ask advice, I'm going to ask for advice from you, Mimi, on Devin's behalf.
Right.
Where should he eat pizza while he's in New York?
You can tell him where you took me.
I have a couple of favorites. One that's very old style New York pizza, if you hit it when they're not too busy and they're being careful, and that's John's on Bleecker Street. That's the very old style. Sometimes when they're very busy and crowded, they burn it and so on. But two of the lighter new styles that I like, one is called Number 28, which is 28 Carmine Street, between Bleecker and 8th or 7th Avenue. And the other is Luzzo, the original Luzzo on 1st Avenue near 11th Street.
I took them to Prince Street Pizza for the deep dish.
Lombardi.
Well, I showed them Lombardi, of course.
I don't think that's so good anymore.
Right, but it is the first pizzeria in America, so there's something special for someone who isn't from New York to go to Lombardi's. I mean, that was the first restaurant in America to get a license to sell pizza. I took them to Prince Street Pizza where they have that deep dish square slice with the thick slabs of pepperoni on top, and you can order the slice extra crispy. And you get a real crisp char around the edges of those pepperoni slices, and they curl up, and they have the little puddle of oil in the middle.
That's why I don't get pepperoni on pizza. I don't like it when they get hard and dry.
Oh.
If I have sausage on pizza, it's sausage meat, crumbled up, not pepperoni. But I basically like margarita.
Right.
I think that's, but Number 28 is they have several places, but I would go to the original on Carmine Street in Greenwich Village.
Got it. All right, Devin, what can we do for you, sir? What would you like to ask Mimi?
Well, so a couple of things. So my son is really enamored. He's here with me. He's really enamored with the city. You know, we live in a small town. I mean, there's like 3,000 people there, whatever. And there's 3,000 people on this street, just right here.
3,000 people online for pizza.
Yeah. So if he were to say one day move to New York and I came to visit him, a couple things. So,
Bring money.
I figured that out already. So if back where I'm from, if someone were to, as a pastor, invite me to come eat a meal on Sunday after church, you can almost guarantee that we'd have fried chicken, mashed potatoes, black-eyed peas, you know, homemade biscuits, that sort of thing. So if I were to move to New York City and I were to become buddies with, say, a Jewish rabbi and have him over to our place, what would be expected to cook for that rabbi?
Nothing.
And Mimi knows because her grandfather was a rabbi.
Okay.
Well, why nothing?
If he's a real observant rabbi, he probably wouldn't eat there to begin with unless you had only dairy things, smoked salmon, cream cheese, fruit, things like that. And he might bring, as my grandfather used to bring to our house, because we were not kosher, he brought his own dishes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And actually, this is not any knock on you, Devin. It's because like, in a kosher home, the dishes have to be kosher, and they can't eat off of non-kosher dishes. So that's why her grandfather brings his own dishes.
But if he were more lenient, I would say anything but pork.
Liberal. Yeah, sure.
Right. Like we've had the rabbi at our local temple has come to our house for dinner, and we just ordered pizza and ate it on paper. Ordered vegetarian pizza and ate it on paper plates, and he was fine with that.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So make friends with a less observant rabbi.
But I must say that is a very modest ambition for someone who's going to come to New York. Just to invite a rabbi to dinner?
Well, what should he aspire to, Mimi?
Well, I think you ought to see some of the food around the city. I think you ought to see some of the crazy neighborhoods around the city, some of the museums, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but I would want to make friends with the rabbi. See, I want to build bridges and love on everybody, and so we'd want to have him over to our home. Not too fast. Ease into it, yeah? Ease into it. Okay, ease into it. I understand.
Maybe go out to a restaurant with the rabbi first.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That would, because breaking bread is the thing, of course.
Yes, ma'am.
That for companion, the word companion means with bread in Latin and Italian.
Yeah.
With
That's
bread.
interesting. I didn't know that.
Con pane.
That makes sense now that you say it. Did you have one more for us, Devin?
I do have one more. So a food thing, and it's real simple. This is going to seem so elementary to you, but I really do need help. So we have macaroni and cheese.
This is at Papa Cajo's.
This is at Papa
your
Cajo's.
place.
That's it. We have macaroni and cheese. And we just make it like most folks make it, I suppose. And we do a little thing where we put pulled pork on it and some chives and some bacon, and we do these deep fried pork rinds, and we crunch those up on the top of it, and they're really good. But macaroni and cheese, it just absolutely breaks down if it stays in a steam table. It's seemingly very, very long. It starts getting kind of thick and yucky. We add milk to it to try to keep it good. But is there a secret to keeping macaroni and cheese good for an extended period of time under heat?
Under heat, but not under steam.
Okay.
The steam, the moisture from the steam is what would infiltrate and melt it down. Have you tried keeping it warm in dry heat, like a low oven?
We did, and part of it seemed to go bad fairly easily, and obviously it was because perhaps we didn't hit the right temp to keep it at. But I don't know. It just seemed like it was a matter of keeping it really nice and hot. And again, it'll keep for a while because we can add a little bit more milk to it, mix it. You don't want to stir it too much because then it starts breaking the noodles down too.
Change the flavor.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know if there's other than just fixing smaller portions and
I've
running it
never
out.
heard that problem,
Well,
and I've seen it on a number of steam tables. You know, it's a sort of standard item, but maybe putting out smaller amounts so that it doesn't have to stay there as long.
Yeah.
If you put out a very, very big amount and it's a little bit slow, it might just be there too long.
Right.
But
What about, Mimi, what if they were to keep the pasta and the cheese sauce separate? And then when they get an order, they combine them, stir it up a little bit to get the cheese into the nooks and
But
crannies.
you bake it a little bit, don't you?
No, we don't, and we actually had considered that, is
Yeah.
keeping the noodles separate from the cheese mix and just as ordered, maybe then just mixing that together. We still got to keep it hot.
Right.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
get- right.
And the
No.
flavors may not meld. And is it self-service?
No, it's not.
Yeah, so it's waiters who
Mhm.
bring
Yeah,
it to
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
table.
yeah.
Well, that's easier to control because you
Mhm.
can put out smaller amounts. It isn't that you're having a cafeteria line
Right.
and running out.
Mhm.
So
So I suppose we could keep the cheese mix hot,
Right.
and then when you mix it with the noodles,
You mix
it's
it,
good.
and if you want to even go another step, what you could do is you put the bacon and you put the pork crunchies and things on top. Maybe add some breadcrumbs too, and then throw it in the broiler.
Mm.
Crisp the top even more. How do you feel about that, Mimi?
I think it would take a long time to get an order out.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Some days we would have time, but some days not to do
Right,
that.
right.
It's really a side dish, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except for it could be a main dish when we put the barbecue and the bacon
Yeah.
and the chives and all the
What
stuff.
kind of cheese do you use?
It's like a Velveeta block cheese
Uh-huh.
and then some butter.
An elbow macaroni.
Correct.
What we used
Yes.
to call elbow
Correct.
macaroni.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
That's the real way.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. She just called your mac and cheese the real way. You better leave now, Devin. Take it. Get out of here. Big hand for Devin Pickard from Papa Cajo's Barbecue in Centerville, Tennessee.